Hi folks, and welcome to Baking Bad. This is episode 13. The last episode we did some digestive biscuits and I thought we would stay with the sweet stuff, and today we're going to do the most unctuous, fudgy, beautiful, deep chocolate cake covered in a beautiful ganache and then highly decorated with hand-tempered chocolate leaves and raspberries, and we'll get onto that. This is quite an involved bake, there's quite a few ingredients, but it will probably be the best chocolate cake you ever make. Right, what you'll need is a couple of 20-inch sandwich tins, and I'm going to use these fancy things, which are baking bands that go around the sandwich tins, and this stops the edge cooking before the middle, so you get a nice even bake through the whole cake. These are easy to pick up and get them in any baking shop or online. Drench them in cold water. So these are drenched in cold water, and we'll just tighten these up. That's nice. Get that all nice and tight. Yeah, so baking bands for nice even bake, keeping the tops flat. Okay, grease and line them with baking parchment, a little bit of butter, and grease and line the pans, and have those ready. Have your oven on ready at 180 centigrade. Okay, the ingredients, on we go. I like to sift my ingredients, so we are going to have 225 grams of plain flour, not self-raising or bread flour, just 250 grams, sorry, 225 grams of plain flour. Almost there, 225. And just sieve that through like that. Get rid of all the lumps. Okay, there we go. Plain flour. We'll then have 350 grams of caster sugar. You don't really need to sieve the caster sugar. Here we go, 350 grams caster sugar. Coming up. 314, 337, 345, 350. I like to use golden caster sugar, and we keep loads of vanilla pods in here as well. Right, then we need our cocoa powder. For this we're going to have 85 grams of cocoa powder, so zero the scales. I think I might sieve this as well, it's going to be a little bit lumpy. 85 grams. Luckily, I have a spare pot. Lovely stuff. Beautiful stuff. This organic cocoa powder is absolutely magnificent. Brilliant product. We will now need, just quickly whisk that through. Beautiful, lovely, unctuous. Bicarbonate of soda, and we are going to use 1.5 teaspoons of bicarb and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. There we go, that's those. Okay, how are we doing? Let's just give those a little quick mix up. Like so. And your flour and your cocoa. Lovely stuff. That's it. I think we're done with the scales now. Okay, let's have 2 large free-range eggs. Lovely stuff. 2 teaspoons of vanilla essence. Like so. Milk, 250 millilitres of milk, and what did we say there, 125 millilitres of vegetable oil. No butter in this case, we're using vegetable oil as the fat. Now we need to give that all a bit of a stir, and then we're going to get the electric whisk out and whisk it all up into a nice smooth sort of batter. It's just that if you put the electric whisk on straight away, a lot of the dry ingredients will fluff up and fly everywhere, and we don't really want that. This is a fabulous cake. I made this recently for a friend's father's 90th birthday, and it went down a treat. And when we get on to decorate it, you will be learning tempered chocolate leaves, and how to make a ganache as well. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Let's just scrape that all off, and let's get the mixer going. We need to give this a good mix just for a minute or two. Keep that there. Okay, 1 whisk. Let's get it in and then blow. And away we go. Right, now we have our boiling water, and you put this in a little bit at a time, and the mixture is actually fairly loose and fairly runny, so don't be alarmed at the runniness, it all cooks down beautifully. So, okay, and there you go. There is your liquid. What I am going to do is Belgian dark chocolate drops, and I'm just going to flump those in there like that. Give this a quick stir around like so. Right, now we need to evenly get it into our sandwich tins. Let's have a look at the old cake tin. Okay, let's zero that. Hopefully, come on. Okay, 479. one there. Let's spread those around a bit like so. And then we'll get the other chocolate blobs and spread those around a bit too. And they will kind of melt, sink to the bottom and melt. There we go, that's pretty even. You'll end up with two sponges. Just wash your hands. Okay. And we now need to get these into the oven at 180. Let's have a look. How's the oven doing? Oh, it's right on it. Brilliant. That's ready to go then. Right. Here we go. One. Try if you can, keep them on the same shelf so they've got the same sort of even hit. There we go. Into the oven. 25 to 35 minutes. You will need one of these to dip into the cake to check that the middle is done. It should come out clean. It is a very wet mixture, so it takes a little longer to cook than a regular Victoria sponge. Let's have a quick look at the situation. Oh, yes, clean out. See, we'll go in again. Lovely. And this side. Lovely. That, I would say, is done. Would you say that was done, Mike?
I agree.
Cool. Okay, that was 40 odd minutes. So, out they come. Drop the ring off. Let it sit. Cool, look at those. Yummy. Drop the ring off if we can. Okay, we'll do it this way. Nice. And there we go. These will all sink down. These look identical to how they did last time. Now, these will cool down completely before we do anything with them, before we get them out of the tin. Okay, right, it's chocolate tempering time. Now, what I've got here is 120 grams of 70% dark chocolate, available anywhere, except at the florist's maybe. So we've broken it down into thirds. We've got 2/3 in here, which is 80 grams. We've got 1/3 here, which is 40 grams. Now, saucepan of gently simmering water, and we are going to place this bowl on top and melt the chocolate. Now, you don't need a lot of heat. We're going to be taking this up to 55 centigrade, no more than that. Then we're going to let it cool to 29, then we're going to bring it up to 33, and then we're going to use it. So we will plop that on. And always remember something Mary Berry said. She said, chocolate melts in a child's pocket. So I thought, yeah, so you have to be quite gentle with the heat and quite sort of prepared to watch the temperature all the time. You'll probably need one of these. Well, you'll definitely need one of these, unless you can tell the temperature just by looking at things. We're going to be using this to take it up to 55 centigrade. So at the moment, all we want is for the chocolate to just melt in the bowl. And that's all we're waiting on. So while that's happening, I shall take you over to what else we shall need. Right, any kind of tray. I like to use this little silver tray. However many chocolate leaves you're going to make, you'll need 1 square of baking parchment. I'm going to make 15 of them. You will need a stapler or some equivalent in order to staple the opposite corners together of your baking parchment once it's covered in chocolate. Some kind of texturizing tool. This is we used to use this for grouting tile filling and patterns using polyfiller, and a couple of sheets of kitchen towel to clean your fingers while you're doing the shapes with the leaves. Over here I have a piping bag. It's very useful to use a pint glass with this sort of size piping bag to fill it. And we have a number 2 nozzle, a Wilton number 2 nozzle, or a couple of millimetres. You don't want it too thin, you don't want it too large. And what we should do is plop that over there, like so, and it just makes it easy to fill. And that's the only reason. It just makes it nice and easy to fill, and you can fill it up. You can put it over your hand and do it, but there's no point getting into a tangle with it. Let's have a look at what we've got. And there we go, chocolate melting away. Very nice. I'm just going to take that off now, because the Pyrex bowl, as you can feel, is really hot. So we're just going to have a look at what we've got. $35, $36, $38, $39, 40 degrees. Let's just feel all the temperature of that. It's really scalding hot, and even though we've taken it off, the temperature is still rising. 52, almost there. 1 more degree and we are in the zone. Okay, 53, and it's probably still going to rise. So, don't worry, I shall wash that before using it again. I now have some cold water here, and I'm going to take the sting out of the bowl, just the heat. It's like 10 seconds. That's it. Done. That bowl is very, very hot to the touch. The next thing we do is we add the remaining third of chocolate. In it goes. That we can turn off. And the temperature of the chocolate will now start to drop with the addition of the cold chocolate. So we're going to let that melt. We'll be back in 15 minutes or so when this will, 10-15 minutes or so when this has dropped down to 29. So, see you then. We are at 29. And then we are back onto the heat to take it up to 33. Now, professional chocolatiers, what they do after they've used their marble surface to drop the temperature to 29, they have a bit of reserved chocolate that they kept from when it was 55, and they plop that into the mixture to bring the temperature up. We're just going to use a tiny amount of bain-marie. There we go. Just to bring it up to 33. While that's just coming up, give that a good old wash. And that is that. Good. We don't need a thermometer anymore. And I don't know what the best way to do this is actually. He says, having done it many times before. But really, we just want to pour the chocolate. Into the piping bag, making sure that you leave just enough sat in the bowl to make your camera lady happy. Right. Right, we shall let that sit in there. We shall twist the piping bag around, and I like to put one of these nice clips on. Wow, there we go. It's already starting to leak out the bottom. Okay, right. Lean the piping bag like that so that the nozzle faces slightly upwards in between our fancy manufacturing. Just organise your bits and pieces. So, baking parchment or greaseproof paper, but baking parchment's better. Baking parchment squares. You don't have to treat them or oil them or grease them or anything like that. And a texturising tool like this. This is the one I've used for all of these chocolate leaves in the past. And it's kind of a mucky old affair, but let's get stuck in. And what we want to do is just pipe a line of melted chocolate down there, like so. And then we shall move out like that and move out like that. And then with your finger, come around like so. And then you come around like so to make a leaf shape. You then grab your stapler, hold those together and clamp them shut and plop it down. And that is it. Right, let's do another one. Nice line of chocolate. There we go. Lovely stuff. Right. Chocolate out that way. And then some chocolate out that way. And then a line with your hand like so. And a line with your hand like so. And there's your chocolate shape. And to give it a bit of a 3D element, we're going to staple those together like so. You can just leave them flat, but they look so much more funky and elegant. When you give them a little curl, and they just look really gorgeous and elegant. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rest. Okay, we're all done. 15 leaves. There they all are. I'm now going to go and put these in the larder, which is a pretty cold and dark place. Dark as in not a lot of light, as opposed to dark like evil things happen there. They don't, great things happen there, because that's where all our lush food is. So, into the larder we go. Well, good morning folks. It's the next day, and today is actually Father's Day. So I have 3 children, aged 30, 28 and 25, and so I'm hoping for lots of fantastic things. Anyway, the cakes are baked, the chocolate leaves have hardened in the larder. I hope they've hardened in the larder, we'll be getting those out later. But now we are going to make the frosting for the cake, which is ganache. And ganache is simply double cream, 220 millilitres of double cream, which we're going to get on to heat. So 220 millilitres of double cream and 220 grams, grams and millilitres are interchangeable by the way, 220 grams of 70% lovely dark chocolate broken into lumps. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring the cream up to nearly boiling, And then we are going to pour it into the bowl of chocolate and leave it for about 1 minute, just to leave it for 1 minute, don't touch it. And then after 1 minute we're going to wazz it up with this balloon whisk and give it a good old mix and then leave it to cool. And that is all ganache is, really. That's a very simple recipe, very effective, and we just need to wait for the cream to come up to temperature, which doesn't take very long. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. And straight in and straight on to the chocolate. Let's just scoop this all out. There we go. Boiling hot cream. It tends to coagulate a little, but don't worry about that. Just get it all in there. And leave it to sit. Coming up for a minute in 10 seconds. Okay, let's begin. Check this out. It's a wonderful transformation as we start to wazz it around like so. Here we go. Oh, look at that. A beautiful, beautiful. That is that. That is our cake frosting. Just make sure all the chocolate has dissolved. You can actually pour this into little pots and serve it as a little dessert after dinner, which I think we did on New Year's Day, didn't we?
With some spice in there as well.
Yeah, I put spice in there. I put 5 spice and clove and a few other things in there to spice it up. And a little bit of gold leaf. And you can actually buy gold leaf at Sainsbury's. They do Sainsbury's Taste the Difference gold leaf, which is so much better than their basics range, which is flavourless and has no character. But the Taste the Difference gold leaf is fantastic. There we go. Here's your ganache. We'll come back when this has firmed up a bit. It takes about an hour for it to fully cool down and get to frosting consistency. And so we'll see you then while Ro licks the whisk. Okay folks, it's cake assemblage time. Now, for decorating I like to use a turntable, and I'm going to put 2 pieces of glue tack here, and then get our dish, which we can line up on that central dot there, and squidge that on. And that is now solid, so when you're decorating your cake, you get this nice smooth action. Now, the cakes themselves. We can just quickly run them round with a knife. The baking parchment and the greasing should mean that these come away quite nicely. You get a nice large glass, plop the cake on top in the middle and down a all in one lovely movement. Shall then flip that over. Oh, as you see with the wet liquid. There we go. Very nice. And then gently, gently, gently. Round we go, like so. Kind of action like that, so you don't pull a lump off the cake. Beautiful. Layer number 1. There we go. Just get it in the middle, like so. Now, what I like to do now is just to level off the surface of the cake using my very, very, very sharp carving knife. Doesn't have to be perfect. That all looks really good. And what we're going to do, we are going to heat up half a jar of apricot jam. Don't bother sieving it or taking the bits out, they're all really nice. And it just gives a nice bit of sharpness along with the fresh raspberries that we'll dress the cake with. We don't need it too hot, we just need it mildly warm. That's probably enough. Just so that it's loose, and just that little bit of water helps it to dissolve out nice and smoothly. Right, okay. And on with our jam. Apricot jam adds a wonderful bit of tartness to the whole thing. And you go almost to the edge, not to the edge. If you go to the edge, it'll all squidge out. Not that that matters, because we're going to cover it in ganache anyway. But again, we can be quite generous with it. There we go. Let's just... Okay, let's get that on to soak. And we'll just let that lovely, a nice even coating of apricot jam. Oh, it's really quite tart. Then we are going to place on top like so. Oh, that's a really good fit. The top part of our cake. Let's just have a look at the shape. Yeah, that all looks good to me. This knife is so sharp you don't really need to press down at all. It's so sharp. It can come off these extra little bits, and we're just waiting for our ganache to cool down. Oh, lovely. And once the ganache has fully chilled down, which I think will be probably about another 15 minutes, we'll get on and we'll frost the cake with a lovely smooth ganache using a palette knife and just easing it round like this to get a lovely smooth finish. And then again on the top. And then we'll get out the chocolate leaves and spray them gold and put them on top, and then dress it with raspberries, and we will be done. So it's a bit of a palaver, but hey, you put the effort in and you get the reward, especially with this beauty. So we'll see you when it's ganache time. Ganache time, sorry. See you in a bit. Okay, it's ganache time. Here is the ganache. It's chilled down and it's now spreadable without dripping and oozing everywhere. And so what we need to do really is just boof it onto the top of the cake like so. Oh, lovely. Really nice consistency, really thick. That's it, and just level it all out as we spin round like so. Squidging the jam out, which is okay, I suppose. And there we go. We'll get a nice even coating around the top. Try and keep the cake in one piece, and then just round the edge like this. You might need to come around that side and just spread it around the side. Don't worry about getting it on the dish, because we'll tidy all of that up later. Here we go. Lovely stuff. Fill in the cracks as we go. How are we doing? That looks good to me. Nice. Okay. Oh yes. And there we go. A ganached up cake. Next thing I like to do is get a tissue and just work around the edge like so, just to give it a bit of a tidy up. Nice. There you go, that'll do, you get the idea. Okay, here we are, chocolate leaves from yesterday. Right, let's be delicate. Right, here we go. Snip that top. And it's just a little bit of super delicate. Oh, there you go. And that's how delicate they are. There you go. So the first one out is a fantastic success. Gently, gently, gently. Look at that. Beautiful. And now we're going to use some gold spray. Make them gold. And very gently lift it onto the cake. Like so. Look at those, beautiful. We're going to just work round the edge. Oh, these are lovely. Funny how the first one broke, but they are so delicate. Get a tiny bit of ganache, wipe it on the back and just stick it in there. Must be a little wet ganache there. Go on. Oops. Okay. Touch no more. Okay, next up for the final bit of garnish is, at this time of year, we are going to use some fabulous fresh raspberries. And what we do is we very delicately place them in little groups of 3 in the spaces, and then we dance them into the gaps around like So almost there, folks. Ultimate chocolate raspberry cake with chocolate ganache, and one for me and one for Rosemary. There we go, folks. Unctuous chocolate cake with hand-tempered gold leaves, 70% chocolate ganache and raspberries on top to finish. There you go. There's your finished cake. Take a little more care with the leaves and they won't break. They are very, very delicate. But there you go. That is the monster. That is that cake. And you bring that out at a dinner party or whenever and it's just like, whoa. And it's a super thing to do, and there's lots of different little disciplines, like the very liquid cake mixture for a start, which isn't the norm. Bit of chocolate tempering and shaping, some ganache making, and the very, very difficult and complex art of plopping a raspberry on top. So there you go, Baking Bad 13, unctuous, fudgy, sticky chocolate cake with chocolate ganache and hand-tempered chocolate leaves topped with raspberries. Whew. Thank you very much. See you for Baking Bad 14.